Denny wins, Ross and Noah fight, and well, there was a race in between it, so let's talk about that. Coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. All right. Denny Hamlin wins the race, but unfortunately that is not the biggest story. It was the second biggest story, and we're going to get to that in just a second. But the biggest story by far was this fight right here between Ross Chastain and Noah Gragson. Now, a lot of people saying Ross tossed the first punch, but if you look here at the footage right here, you see Noah Gragson goes in there and makes a rookie mistake. He grabs him with his left hand. Now, if you see right there, you grab him with your left hand, you're leaving your whole face open to his right punch right there. So when that happens, I mean, you got to close the distance. If you're going to grab him, you got to close the distance and take him down somehow, either, trip him or throw him. So rookie mistake by Noah Gragson. So you see right there, I have no problem with what either driver did, and let me explain why. From Noah Gragson's perspective, he felt like he got ran up the track. This goes all the way back to last week. He was mad at Ross Chastain last week as well. So this goes back 2 weeks. It wasn't just this incident right here. So from Noah Gragson's perspective, and even though, in my opinion, he left him plenty of room, as you can see here, but from Noah Gragson's perspective, he was not left plenty of room. So he had to stick up for himself, and I have no problem with Noah Gragson right there sticking up for himself and doing what he thought he had to do. Now, on the flip side of that, Ross Chastain, this is all the media has talked about for the last 2 years, is Ross Chastain and how he drives. They're painting him out to be this villain that just runs over people every single lap of every single race. So from Ross Chastain's perspective, the first guy that steps up to you in the garage like that and puts hands on you, you have to send a very clear message that that's not going to be tolerated, and that's what he did with that right hook. So I have no problem with what Ross Chastain did either. In fact, I like it. I gained a lot of respect for both of these guys, hence I'm wearing the t-shirt and the hat that I'm wearing right now, because in a world full of drivers that are trying to be PC and keep sponsors and make sponsors happy, these two guys are not afraid to be themselves. So I actually have a lot of respect for what both of them did. They stood their ground. They stood up for themselves. Whereas, and even in Noah Gragson's post-race interview, he said, Chase Elliott told me to go down there and just fight him. So instead of what other drivers do, they complain on social media and things like that. Noah Gragson and Ross Chastain actually stood up for themselves, and they didn't just get into a Twitter fight. So I gained a lot of respect for both guys, and I respect what both guys did there, even though I don't agree with fighting at all. Now, that being said, there was a race, and Denny Hamlin won that race, but it was controversial because there was some late lap contact. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. Going forward on the last lap, I have no problem with the move that Denny Hamlin made. In his post-race interview, Denny Hamlin even admitted that he was side drafting and he got into Kyle Larson. So a lot of people have been saying Larson got loose and got into Denny Hamlin. No, Denny Hamlin actually admitted in his post-race interview that he got into Kyle Larson because he was side drafting too close. That being said, I have no problem with Denny Hamlin going for it there. You got to get the win to lock yourself into the playoffs. What I do have a problem with is Denny Hamlin's massive hypocrisy of he always complains about people not racing him clean. He always complains whenever anybody touches him on the racetrack. In fact, ironically, he is one of the main reasons a lot of people dislike Ross Chastain, and he goes and wrecks somebody for the win here, which once again I have no problem with, but you can't have a certain code of conduct and not live up to it yourself. So if he's going to complain about some people wrecking him, he shouldn't go out and wreck people for the win. So that is the only issue I have with that. But other than that, pretty much a no-go. And actually, Kyle Larson's wife, Caitlin Larson, had the same thought process there. As you can see from this tweet, she said, actions hypocritical. All right, so those were the two big controversies from the race, but there was a race, and let's see who had a good race and who had a bad race. Denny Hamlin, of course, has a good race by winning and locking himself in. Kyle Larson, despite being wrecked, does finish second. So even though he keeps getting wrecked when he's got really fast cars, he at least got a second place out of this one. William Byron recovered from an early incident and he was 2 laps down actually at one point. He recovered to third place. It was a good day for the Toyotas. Bubba Wallace finished in fourth here. Ross Chastain finishes fifth, so despite all the controversy, Ross Chastain did finish fifth. Joey Logano kind of out of nowhere finished in sixth. Chase Elliott started off the day really slowly, but worked his way up there, got in the top 10, finished the 7th. Martin Truex Jr. finishes 8th. He looked really dominant at parts in this race. Tyler Reddick also led some laps in this race. He finishes 9th. Austin Dillon, once again doing what Austin Dillon does, kind of out of nowhere, gets that 10th. It was a much-needed 10th for him because he had been in a slump after that the points were taken away from him, so he definitely needed a good finish here. The points aren't going to matter, though. He's going to need a win. Kevin Harvick, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Eric Almirola, AJ Allmendinger, and Daniel Suarez rounding out your top 15. On the flip side of that, it was a bad day for Christopher Bell, Kyle Busch, and Ty Gibbs. They all got into some trouble. All had pretty good cars, but at the end of the day, they got torn up in some restarts for Kyle Busch. Christopher Bell, I think, lost it. He got into Ross Chastain, and he admitted that he just overdrove it there. So, yeah, bad day for those guys, and also a bad day for Noah Gragson and Eric Jones, as Legacy Motorsport just cannot keep it going. They can't get any momentum going this season. And here's your points. Points leader, Ross Chastain. Despite the controversy, he is the points leader. Christopher Bell is second place, even though he finished last. Martin Truex Jr. is third. Denny Hamlin moves up to fourth, surpassing Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick fifth. Tyler Reddick, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, William Byron, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, Christopher Buescher, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Alex Bowman, and Daniel Suarez are your first 16 in. Then you got Chase Briscoe, Bubba Wallace, Ty Gibbs, Michael McDowell, Austin Cindric, all the first cars on the outside looking in. All right, that's all I got for you on this one. If you made it this far, feel free to subscribe down below. All your subscriptions mean a lot to this channel, and if you're already subscribed, you know I appreciate you all as well. If you got a question or comment, leave it down in the comment section. I'll try to get to as many of them as I can, and other than that, thanks for your time. Peace.